Can anything good come out of Nazareth? In the name of God, Creator, Redeemer, Sustainer. Amen. Do you tend to think that all young children are reflexively kind and empathetic? I wonder then what you might have made of the 10-year-old me on one summer afternoon in the 1970s. I grew up on a cul-de-sac in a town just north of Boston. And the summer my friend Anthony and I were 10, a new family moved onto our block. The mother and the father were decades younger than most of the parents on our street. They were just starting out, and they had young twins, then about 3 or 4 years old. Joni and Mark. Joni and Mark were tow-headed and adorable. They were always together. And in fact, we referred to them, the entire neighborhood, as Joni and Mark. Joni and Mark, collectively. But something about them got under my 10-year-old skin. They were always scribbling on construction paper and leaving these scribblings as gifts inside the storm doors of people all over the neighborhood. "Oh, this looks like the work of Joni and Mark," my mother would say delightedly, retrieving one of these items along with the morning paper and posting it onto the front of our fridge with a banana magnet. Joni and Mark always seemed to be dressed in tie-dye. My mother mentioned one day in passing that they and their parents did not eat meat. But what really itched me were the dolls. Joni always had with her a sort of standard issue, white-skinned, fair-haired baby doll. Its eyes would close when it laid down. Mark, to my amazement, carried a doll too. It was a black doll, a little girl doll with jet black hair and brown skin. Dressed in a little blue and white onesie, I can still see its pattern of blue ovals. "Why does he carry that stupid doll?" I demanded of my mother. She shut me down pretty quickly. She told me that I needed to live and let live. That was a lesson I failed to live into, though. The summer I was 10, my friend Anthony and I spent a lot of time dreaming up ways to tease, torment Joni and Mark. Anthony's family had an in-ground pool, and I remember in particular one hot afternoon heading up the street with my towel and encountering the twins. "Where are you going?" asked Joni. "Are you going swimming?" "Yes, I am. I'm going to Anthony's. He has a pool, and it has a slide and a diving board, and you can't come." I probably remember this exchange so well because they didn't burst into tears, which is what they usually did. They just kind of looked at me with this hurt and puzzled look, mystified, as if they were trying to figure something out. Those two dolls were hanging from their hands. Towards the end of that summer, Anthony and I both received invitations from Joni and Mark's mother. Mine was slipped in between the storm door and the front door, where their annoying scribbles were usually deposited. Joni and Mark were having a birthday. There was to be cake and ice cream and games. Would I please come? It was the last thing I wanted to do. Anthony got to his first and threw it in the trash, but I made the mistake of showing my invitation to my mother. "Patrick Carroll Ward, you are going to that party," she said. She somehow secured measurements and ran up on her Singer sewing machine new little outfits for the two dolls. These were to be my present. The day came. I went. I was at least 2 heads taller than every other screaming, laughing child in that house that afternoon. "Oh, hi, I'm glad you're here," said Joni and Mark's mother. "You can help me with the cake." I started sticking candles into a big sheet cake with orange frosting. I scooped ice cream. And then, under her guidance, I organized Pin the Tail on the Donkey, which I had never played before, and the rest of the games, and then I helped clean up, awkwardly at first, and then mysteriously, joyfully. And when Joni and Mark ripped open their presents and figured out that mine to them were new clothes for their little dollies, they were so happy. Their dumb little scribbled thank you notes arrived promptly the next day between the screen door and the front door, and I never bullied them again. In fact, I joined just about everyone else on the street who thought of them as adorable. They were adorable. They moved away eventually. I've wondered sometimes since what sorts of adults those two became. God knows. God does know. I'm sorry I don't. But I do know that their mother and my mother understood something that summer. That is that love and invitation conquers hate. Love, wrote Martin Luther King. Love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend. We see that power, the power of love, at work in our gospel lesson this morning. We have Philip, the inviter, telling Nathanael, "We found him, the one we've been waiting for. His name is Jesus. He's from Nazareth." To which Nathanael responds, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" Nazareth, to a more sophisticated and urbane resident of first century Palestine, was the boonies, the sticks. Imagine Nathanael on Brattle Street in Cambridge dismissing Wheeling, West Virginia. To a blue stater, Nazareth would be redder than red. So Nathanael dismisses, Nathanael judges, but Philip persists. "Come and see." And then Jesus does something remarkable. When Nathanael does come and see, he calls him Nathanael, the dismisser, an Israelite in whom there is no deceit. He brings him in, naming a gift in him, honesty in this case, and ignoring the tribalism, the prejudice that has defined Nathanael until this moment. I know from experience that it's a shocking thing to have one's goodness perceived and held up by the party one has just injured. It's a shocking thing when one's bullying is met with an invitation to a party. And it's a shock that transforms, a shock that renews. Nathanael seems shocked. "Where did you get to know me?" It's the shock of one who has been bracing for enmity, the return of evil for evil, and finds instead love and acceptance. It's the shock of my 10-year-old self poking candles into that sheet cake. And in that shock, the shock of love and acceptance extended to the enemy, enmity so often dissolves. King, whose birthday we mark tomorrow, he died at 39 and would be 95 tomorrow, if still with us. King believed above all else in love's power to transform and renew. Listen to him now. when the opportunity presents itself for you to defeat your enemy, he once wrote. When the opportunity presents itself for you to defeat your enemy, this is the time which you must not do it. There will come a time in many instances when the person who hates you most, the person who has misused you most, the person who has gossiped about you most, the person who has spread false rumors about you most, there will come a time when you will have an opportunity to defeat that person. It might be in terms of a recommendation for a job. It might be in terms of helping that person to make some move in life. That's the time you must not do it. That is the meaning of love, King continued. In the final analysis, he writes, love is not this sentimental something that we talk about. It's not merely an emotional something. Love is creative, understanding, goodwill for all people. It is the refusal to defeat any individual. When you rise to the level of love, of its great beauty and power, you seek only to defeat evil systems. Individuals who happen to be caught up in that system, you love, but you seek to defeat the system. Defeat the system, love the person. It's otherworldly advice, this advice of Kings. But it's a way of being that Jesus modeled throughout his own time on earth. We see it here in his welcome to Nathanael. We see it more boldly and starkly after the resurrection. When Jesus returns to the upper room, to those who have forsaken and betrayed him, and says, "Peace be with you. Peter, do you love me?" Those are stunning moments, these after Easter stories, because of Christ's abiding love for those who have wronged him. It's as if he takes his pierced hand and places it. That pierced hand he places on that hideous pendulum, which has only ever swung between hurt and revenge. And he brings that whole machine to a grinding halt. And in that grinding halt, we are saved. You're not invited. Okay, then let me invite you. Can anything good come out of Nazareth? Come and see. Be with us, friend. Love, the refusal to defeat any individual. Love, the refusal to exploit personal advantage or opportunity in the interest of advancing another. Love, not a sentimental something, but a creative, brave, and blanket goodwill. Love, not a mood, but a kind of improbable and unyielding stance. Love. In the flesh of Jesus, God's greatest gift to us, not God's only gift to us, but perhaps its clearest expression to us. That is exactly what came out of Nazareth. Come and see. Go and look. Standing together, we affirm the ancient faith of our church in the words of the night.